Hi, continuing with today's thought. But before we get to today's thought, just a news flash, some breaking news that I just got that may not be breaking news by the time you're watching this, the day after I'm recording this. But I guess it depends on whether the mainstream media report it. Given their penchant for burying news that hurts Democrats, I'm guessing that they won't. So you may not know about this. But it has to do with Georgia. Just as you must know, Trump, among all the many counts against him in various courts, all in Democratic areas by Democratic prosecutors, yada, 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 what I consider a persecution. Anyways, one of the cases is a case in Georgia where a county district attorney, Fani Willis, has charged Donald Trump with and 17 others, I believe, with 17 or 18. With a RICO conspiracy to overthrow the election. Well, it turns out that the prosecutor that she hired, as you may know, but just in case you don't know, he's never had any experience prosecuting. I don't think any case at all, let alone a case of this kind. And she paid him. She ignored other prosecutors with other attorneys with more experience to hire this guy, Wade, what's his name? Nathan Wade, hired him over all these other people, paid him almost $700,000, with which he took her on exotic trips with the money that she was paying him from the Georgia taxpayers. And it turns out that they were having an affair. Now, the development is that she had testified that the affair began after, that they were just friends, and that the affair began after she hired him to be the prosecutor. And the attorney for one of the defendants, a very sharp attorney, looked into the Nathan Wade. He just got divorced, and the divorce. The charges against him, in the divorce papers by his now ex-wife, is she did some diligent research, and it turns out that she found witnesses to testify that this affair actually began began much earlier, and a witness just testified today that the affair began in 2019. Okay, so number one, the effect on the trial, but number two, she lied. She lied. She's a prosecutor who lied, and Nathan Wade lied too. So at a minimum, I would guess that she's going to be taken off the case, and I'm hoping there's a chance maybe that the whole case will implode, because it was her project, and the whole case is ridiculous anyhow, and I'm not going to get off on a track on that. Just wanted to let you know that it's starting to look kind of bad for Fani Willis, and this is the kind of occurrence that I enjoy, when somebody goes after Trump and the tables get turned, and they end up in a worse situation than if they had just left him alone. I guess that's the news flash. Now I'm going to show you a video today, as you saw from the title of this. Mollie Hemingway writes for the Federalist. Okay, it's a conservative website connected, I believe, with the Federalist Society. Anyhow, she testified before Congress, talking about everything, all the dirty tricks that the Democrats used, I would assume, and could possibly use going forward. Everything that's wrong with our elections today. So I'm just going to turn the floor over to her. It's about 3 minutes and 50 seconds, and it just covers the whole mess. And, here's Mollie.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify today. The American system of self-governance is under attack. Instead of an election day where everyone votes at the same time and with the same full set of information, votes are counted quickly, and everyone promptly knows and trusts the outcome, we now have lengthy election seasons that can last months prior to and even after Election Day. The situation is so absurd that we have presidential and gubernatorial debates weeks after some people have already voted. Instead of having total security and a verifiable chain of custody for ballots being issued, cast, and counted, we flood addresses across the country with tens of millions of unsupervised mail-in ballots months ahead of elections, frequently to locations from which voters, if they're even alive, have long since moved. Instead of having election administration that is rigorously nonpartisan and impartial under the law, we have allowed the private takeover of government election offices by partisan oligarchs and their armies of activists who use those offices and their authorities to tilt the election toward favored candidates. Instead of voters being able to vote for the candidate of their choice, powerful interests backed by wealthy oligarchs are working to remove the most popular candidate and the ruling party's chief opponent from the ballot in a move reminiscent of Soviet Russia. And if that weren't enough, instead of the top candidates chosen by the people being able to fully engage in a vigorous campaign heading into an election, we have one side actively attempting to throw its opponent in prison and bankrupt his family, again, reminiscent of Soviet Russia. Instead of a system of rule of law that gives Americans the same rights and due process, the Department of Justice and other partisan actors are prosecuting their opposition, whether powerful or lowly, and doing so in places where partisan juries will ensure a quick conviction. Instead of a free and independent press that shares news and information to help inform voters, we have a press that is almost exclusively the arm of one political party and is so corrupt that it is willing to perpetrate hoax after hoax against opposition party members. Instead of a vibrant public square where Americans can debate issues and express their strongly held views, we have an elaborate censorship industrial complex where the government works hand in hand with tech oligarchs to suppress and blacklist debate on all the important issues that contribute to election outcomes. This is something I know firsthand because our government worked with tech companies to censor me for my election reporting. Allowing just one of these attacks to infect our electoral system would be a crisis. Allowing all of them at the same time is an existential threat to our system of self-government. In my best-selling book on how election administration has been co-opted by groups seeking political power, I reported on a new phenomenon in the 2020 election that has already severely eroded trust and needs to be addressed decisively. In the last presidential election, nonprofit groups with very strong ties to the Democrat Party and funded by one of the world's wealthiest and most powerful men, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, took over government election offices, most notably in the Democrat areas of swing states. Since then, the efforts by partisans to further infiltrate government election offices to ensure favorable outcomes have only increased. I look forward to answering questions about how the private oligarch takeover of elections is a threat to our system of self-government.
The Republicans are really asleep at the switch if they don't do something about this. Number one, legislation is going to be tough because Republicans only control the House or at the federal level, and at the state, this mischief is going on in Democratic states or Democratic areas of swing states. But also these states, they have Democratic governors who can and most likely will veto any kind of legislation to solve this problem. So the other part of it, good news is it looks like Ronna McDaniel, the chairwoman of the Republican National Committee, who was the chairwoman over the past couple elections, that the Republicans did not do nearly as well as they expected to. So she's going to be replaced by somebody in whom Trump has trust, number one, and who seems, well, ideally that they'll be on, if the Democrats are going to do the things that Molly Hemingway just testified in that video that you just saw. Then the Republicans, wherever it's legal, they have to do the same thing. So ballot harvesting, concentrate on getting out the vote, and have a team of lawyers there. They have to get in early before the election to challenge these things before they got caught kind of asleep at the switch. Coronavirus, everybody's going to die, so we have to have mail-in voting because the people will drop dead if they have to personally show up at a voting booth. These were emergency measures that apparently, after the emergency, that's a problem. The Democrats, they use an emergency to pass some legislation or to gain some power, and then after the emergency is over, they retain the power and they build on it later when the next emergency comes up. Just remember. I don't remember his name, Emmanuel, he said that the famous statement, you heard it, never let a crisis go to waste. And the Democrats don't do that, and the Republicans sometimes do. But you have to be alert for that the Democrats will take advantage of a crisis. And you got Rahm Emanuel, and that's the name of the person. And that's it. Thanks for stopping by. That's my thought for today. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.